Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to Straight Talk with Grover Thornton, program designed to inspire, inform, and to educate you on how our government, state and local, impact our lives. This program is produced and sponsored by our Black Media, Mr. Julius Hall, President and CEO Officer. I'd like to say this, that as I stated last month, we have a radio show now, 2100 for beautiful music. So I imagine many of you all are following that on your car radio or whatever. And I know you will enjoy the wonderful music. I would like to say first that this is a Black History Week, but before I go into Black history, it's very imperative that I speak to you on what's happening. I say in my opening statement, how government impact our lives. And if you know what's going on today, they're really trying to impact our lives. Ridiculous. This man wants to be a dictator. This man believes in retribution, violence. This man believes in vengeance. Never saw in all my life watching television and listening to conventions years ago, beautiful conventions, music and playing at the conventions, outstanding conventions. Never in my life would I thought this nation would move into the arena in which we are moving in today. Trump really is following the path and the playbook of some of the things that Adolf Hitler did. He praised Adolf Hitler, as you know, and also when Hitler came into power, Hitler took countries going and coming. First, he took advantage of Poland. He took Poland. He took Czechoslovakia. He took Denmark. He took Holland, Belgium. The Nazi troops moved right into those countries, and they gave up. Now you know the Russians. The Russians they are our competitors. And this man has gone crazy, like he wants to take the Panama Canal, which has never been a property of the United States government, period. I admit that France, England, they attempted to develop this canal, because what it does, it gives access to the Pacific, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, without going all around the high point of South America. Many people lost their lives building that canal. The United States government financed it. France tried, couldn't do anything about it. The government paid them all the money they invested, and they took over. So I don't see where Trump said we owned it. And after it became a revolution, slight revolution, changed the government in Panama, and we worked out a treaty. And President Carter gave the complete control of the canal, because it was part of the land that belonged to the Panamanians. And so I don't know how he think we're going to take Panama. What is wrong with this man? And I remember I was telling a friend the other night that I was sitting watching TV one night, and there was a medical doctor and a psychiatrist and the other was a behavior person. And both of them agreed to say the same thing, that the man has mental problems. Now, he was right there during the campaign. The very first day, I'm going to end the war in Ukraine. Now, how many days? It's over 2 weeks or more he has been elected. He has not done that. He said, I'm going to bring down the price of food. He hasn't done that. Then a week or so after, I saw on the bottom where the commentator will say the statement he made, well, it's a very difficult job to do. But not what he told the people. And look what he did. He went and hired this man, Musk. That man has supposed to be the richest man in the world. He has contracts with the American government. He built all of these electric cars. He has not been elected to do what he's doing. And first thing, in my judgment, I can't understand why nobody can't see that. He has contracts with the United States government. And that should be a conflict of interest in my view. Do you think for a moment that he's going to cut his contracts that he has with the government? No, he wants to lay off everybody. Trump wants to punish people who prosecuted those people who invaded the Capitol in January 6th. He wants to do that. And then, of course, he also pardoned all of these people, 1,600 of those people. And 2 people already have gone out and committed murders. Those 2 people that he pardoned was the first time in the history of this country that someone tried to overturn the government. I know Jefferson, if such a thing could happen, Jefferson, Clay, Washington, Madison, and all those people turned over in their grave if they could do that. They know what this man has done and doing. Thank God the federal courts are putting a halt to it. They want to fire all these people from their jobs. He put a lot of unqualified people. That's why I can't understand the Republican Party. They are afraid of this man. He put a lot of unqualified people in high positions. Look at the guy who's now the Secretary of Defense. That's the man when the country is at war or been attacked. That's the man goes to the president immediately and to put into to a movement what we're going to do to protect the country. I'm going to be somewhere drunk. And I've already predicted in less than a year, he's going to be, I would give him 2 years in that job. He's going to be drunk someplace. Watch what I tell you. A man drunk, getting up on the stage, dancing with the people, drunk with girls on the poles. He gets so drunk they had to take him to his own apartment at the hotel. It's ridiculous. That's the type man. Then he puts this lady who watches, as Gabbard lady, I believe her name or something like that. She is over the intelligence. When intelligent information comes to the government, she analyzes it and then goes to the president. This country's trying to do this. This country's trying to do this. And here's the day. What did he do? He turned around and took away the information that he's supposed to give to the vice president. That, they always communicated for the sake of the nation. And he cut his security. This man is awful. This man is ridiculous. And how you turn around and they voted for a man like this. And look what Musk is doing. Look what he's doing in Africa. All these poor people hungry. That U.S. aid. That's what builds good relations with the world. And not only that, that's why God blesses America. Because America has always been a given country. But a lot of times it has its imperialism about it now. Ain't no question about it. They pay for security reasons. They do these things. But anyway, America does do a good job of doing things like this. Now, Musk is suffering these people. All these people working for the U.S. aid. He has suspended them. What about Baby? The man said the other night on the TV, you think about not only the young people be starving for the U.S. aid, but babies and toddlers. Little babies just learn how to walk, don't have food. An evil man like this. Terrible. And that's some other things we need to look at in this country. And then his tariffs. I told you last month. And I explained to you what a tariff is and how does it work. I told you that last month. When a company invests in that, pay the money for the tariff that the country has imposed on America, and when he gets the goods, he got to repay himself. He got to recover his loss. He got to recover the money that he's invested, and then he upped the price. That's why they say we pay like another national insurance, because that's what you're doing. So that's the man they put into the White House. But like I told you, and I say it again, the day's going to come, and it's coming every day. Those people put it in there. They see. They go wish they had that. They go damn the day and curse the hour they ever prayed for them. And a lot of these people that they turn off their jobs or been working for the federal government so long, a lot of them are working the positions. Now that they fired, turn off, it's awful. And a lot of this man, Musk, who has not been elected for Fisher. And I can't understand how the Republican Congress, all these people are sitting there doing nothing, allowing this man. Thank God for the courts that they have put a pause on all this action that he's taken. But the day is going to come that America is going to be sorry. And I told you beginning about that 2025, that manifesto, that's what they're working right now. They put all that together. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to cut this or we're going to cut that. And that's what they're doing. That's Project 2025. A lot of people told American people before the election that this man going to do these things. And he made like he knew nothing about the 2025 agenda. And he lied. He's the biggest lie you ever saw. And he lied about the election. Then finally said, I didn't win. Look at the chaos that he caused. Look at the violence that he caused. 15 to 1600 people just set free. And of course, we have a felon as the president of the United States. People are laughing at us all over the world. The main reason why these countries do not criticize him publicly because they depend upon America for foreign aid. And they know he'll cut them off in a minute. So they talk behind the scenes about it. But you know, the countries are looking at America, they're laughing at us. Now, the one I want to say, I had to mention these things because that was very important to talk about what's going on in today, because we live in a new time now, a new century, and we are experiencing things that we have never experienced before. Nobody in their right mind would ever thought that we will have a president that will try to overturn the government, overturn democracy that has been over 240-something years or more. And now he gets in there on the second term. Then he had a audacity to say the other day they talk about the election. Well, I mean, I never get out of office, something to that effect. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to be like Putin, or the man like Hungary. That dictator. That's what he wants to do. But I'm predicting that his time will be short. It's because God still runs this world. This world belongs to him. And he watches everything everybody does. And he will pay for what he's doing. He may not last in that office a year. I'm predicting that. Now, I want to talk tonight about Black history. Now, the other day I turned on the television and I first beginning of the statement that he stated, and a friend of mine Googled it, did something on YouTube or whatever, and she told me what he meant. He named all these organizations. He named Martin Luther King Day, but there's nothing he can do with Martin Luther King Day because that's a federal law. But evidently, the government was supporting these people some kind of way, giving them some funds or something. And when she checked it out, they didn't never say specifically what he meant. So evidently, it had to do with money. And they put on pause. They paused on doing whatever they were doing. On Martin Luther King Day, Juneteenth, some kind of Spanish holiday, the Holocaust a museum or whatever. All of these things that he refused to support again. The man has a mental problem. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's what that man has. He's vindictive, is what he is. I feel for our country. I really do. And when I think about Black history, that's what I want. I just wanted to talk first about the things that we're dealing with him. Now I want to talk about Black history. About 2 weeks ago, Ms. Gunn, she should have been here tonight to talk about the square named after Susan King Taylor, where she's trying to raise money to construct a statue of her at that square. But when you think about the people that I'm thinking about now in coming into our country, I was talking about 2 weeks ago to a group of white students. They came from Oklahoma, and they're a private school, and every year they go on a tour with their students to certain places. And Ms. Gunn has a tour business, and they contact her. They want the students to see what African Americans are going through with slavery, because right here in Savannah, Georgia, the last slave market was right there on Augusta Avenue there somewhere, right here in Savannah. But I talked with them, and they were very attentive to my listening as I spoke, and I talked to them about Black history. I talked with them about some of the advantages African Americans had done to this nation. Good. So I say to them, I say, now, let's look at the races of people. I said, first place, God created everybody. That's number one. I said, but I belong to the Negro race. There are many races. And I said, but now, and I took a piece of paper off the desk that I was sitting to. And I said, now this piece of paper is white. I said, you're not white. Do you look like this piece of paper? That's white. you belong to the Caucasian race. That's where you belong. I don't know why they want to call y'all white. But anyhow, I began to speak to them, and I talked to them about the accomplishment of black folk. And I said, let me tell you one thing, young men. There were three girls with this group, and other 17, 18, they were young men. I'll say about the 12th grade or something like that in a private school from Oklahoma. I said, oh, yeah, that's right. You're from Oklahoma. That's where that boy blew up the federal building. They killed all these people, children, in a daycare center. Terrible. McFaith. They executed him, which was good. I wish they could have done him 2 or 3 times. Blew up all those people's children in a daycare center. But anyway, when I talked with them, I said, let me give an example. When you get in an automobile and you get to a red light and you stop, do you know who invented the red light? A black man. I said, I'm trying to think of his first name. I have so many things on my mind. I said, but his last name was Morgan. So one of the men that was with them at the Chevron, he said, oh, I got him, Mr. Thornton. Hey, it is right here. His name was Garrett Morgan, a black man, and showed his pictures on his phone to that group of people. And then I said to him, now everybody has not had an operation. And when you have an operation, you got to have blood because you're going to lose a lot of blood. And you got to have blood continuously coming into your body. And I said, a black man invented the blood bank. Well, you should have seen the look on their face when I said that. I said his name was Dr. Charles Drew. He was a professor at Harvard University, and he invented the blood bank. And I want you all to know that. Our children don't know these type things. They never put them in the books. You need to tell your children, your grandchildren, the accomplishment of black people. We did more than just sit there and dance. We created a lot of great things. When you look at the light bulb, next month, if I live, I'm going to name, I want the children, if you have children, I want you to have right at your side, but I name a lot of the accomplishments that black folk have done. I didn't know what to read the other night. You look at the fragment in the light bulb. A black man did that. So I'm just telling them some things. And I said, you said, well, I don't want this black person blood. I don't want this white person blood. No such thing. You don't get nobody's blood. You get the plasma out of the blood. However they do that, I don't know. But I can tell you this. They were shocked when I told them that. And a lot of other people do not know these things. And that's why next one I'm going to start telling people a lot of the accomplishment that black folk did. You take, for instance, when you read the history, as I go into the black history when we first came to this country, when you take the cotton gin, that was created, and that cotton gin, really, the South was about not to have slavery like the other countries, states did. Until that somebody invented that cotton gin, where they could just take all the seeds out of that cotton. They were home free then. They never thought about no release of slaves. It was enslavement. Now, we came into this nation 20 individuals with some white people. They had come from England. They were not slaves. They were they persons that had done evil in England. They were indentured individuals. They could work, eventually pay off their fines or whatever, and get their freedoms. But then when they came in 1619, and they landed at Jamestown, or Virginia. And Virginia had a serious problem of labor problems, swamps and everything. They needed people to have to do all this work. They had nobody. And somebody, now I'm not reading one book. I haven't finished it yet. Just started reading when some black man wrote this book. And he said how when they landed in Virginia, someone hollered, well, let's get some of these African people. I guess because they were black, you see. Nothing was over here but the colonists. The colonists and the 13 original colonists that were in Virginia. So what they did, they began to go to Africa, West Indies. You take it in the northern part of Massachusetts. They would go to the West Indies and they would trade commodities and produce. and they go from Virginia. They had what they call a triangular trade. They would go from New England. Because New England, when I say New England, states like Connecticut and Boston and Massachusetts, that's called the New England states. And they would go from there to the West Indies. They trade their products, and then from West Indies, then they would go to Africa. From Africa, round and round, back and forth, and they bought slaves and had the thousands of slaves, and they had what they call the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage was from where they started from to halfway to America, and a lot of them, by the millions. I was reading another night, by the millions, they jumped over into the river, and the sharks and all of that ate them up. It was just terrible. It did black people, and so when they had by the millions of black, about 10 millions, how many million, 30, 40 million, I don't know how many millions of black people killed themselves, didn't want to come. They had them tied down on the ships with chain, and that once in a while they get up to eat or they exercise by jumping. And when they was afraid, when they took the chains off of them, that's when many of them rebelled. Many of them jumped into the sea, was eaten by sharks, and all of that because they knew nothing about freedom. It took them away from their homeland. A lot of them they stole, and to tell you the truth about it, a lot of them were sold by their own people. And we have that going on today. We have our own people selling us out to white people. No question about it. I don't back down on that at all. Uncle Tom's, what they used to call selling the unborn birthright of black people and black children. So that's what first started. Then, of course, as a slavery produced on into this nation, then you had President Lincoln. He hated slavery. He was born in Kentucky. He wasn't born in Illinois. His daddy did not like slavery, so that's when they moved to Illinois. I think it was Selman in Illinois, and eventually he was a self-made man. He was a genius. He was appointed by God to do what he did, no question about it. It was like a metaphor that Dr. King and other leaders like that, Cora, Snake, Malcolm X, and all these people, they became leaders in the 20th century to help bring folk into American Negroes into the nation as a whole, to enjoy the benefit of the nation, which we are still fighting, we're still struggling to this nation. And after the Republican Party was born, then President Lincoln became the head of the party. He came from the young Republican Party, invited him to speak at a place called Cooper Union, which was a school. I don't know whether it exists or not, but it's Cooper Union. And when he spoke to the young Republican parties, when he first saw him, he didn't look sharp and dress sharp or nothing like that. But when he got to speaking to them, they overwhelmed about the way that he carried himself and his knowledge and his skills and how he was so smart to do what he did. I read 5 books on him, and he was a man he was a very complex individual, no question about that. He would sit down sometime in his office and just look out the window for hours, just sit there and say nothing to anybody. He was a very complex man, but he was a genius. And of course, he was not a good-looking man at all, never a good-looking man. And when he married this woman, Mary Todd, she was from a very influential family. And they were shocked that she would marry somebody who looked like Lincoln. But he was very outstanding. Looks was not everything. And when I feel this way, people are born for certain things by God for a certain task. I remember talking to Reverend Scott Stale, he's deceased now, pastor of Bethlehem Baptist Church. And I worked on his campaign. I was over the public relation part of his campaign. And I had one of his bumper stickers in my memorabilia that he wrote a lot of things complimenting me for helping him. But I remember he told me one time that every year they would go to the Georgia Missionary Convention. And Martin Luther King was a little boy, I'd say about 10, 11 years old. And he said he can remember he was very industrious. talking, asking questions, answering questions. You see, he was just born for what God had him to do when he got to that particular point. I remember reading about his life, and I have two books that I read about him. One is Strive Towards Freedom, and the other book is Why We Can't Wait. And I like when he mentioned about the ministers. And he was saying that it's good to talk about all the wonderful things that we enjoy and will enjoy in heaven. But while man living on a earthly earth and hell with all this stuff around him, and he's not enjoying none of it. And the ministers need to get out and speak to the people and help bring about the changes that's really necessary. And I remember reading something, and I'm tying all this into where we came from and where we still got to go. Now, back to the Black History part with Lincoln and the Republican Party. Well, there are a lot of debates was about between a man named Douglas. He was a senator. Lincoln ran for the House of Representatives. He won, served a term, sort of remind me of President Obama. Obama served one term, and then, of course, he became president. Lincoln served one term, but he ran for the Senate. I guess this man he debated with all the time. They're debating Douglas. He won the election. But Lincoln still talked about slavery. They loved to hear him talked about getting rid of slavery. He said he would never want to be a slave, and he never want to be a slave. And then he quoted the scripture in the book of Matthew where Jesus said, as you have men do unto you, do you so unto them. That was Lincoln's philosophy. And when he became president, of course, people kept asking him to release the slave. And Lincoln made a statement. He was saying that 250 years of unrequited toil, 200 to 300 years working for nothing. Our people work for nothing. I showed you that last year in the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, where this lady in the shore, Beatrice Shaw, was concerned about African Americans and slavery. She visited the plantations and began to ask people how they were treated. And she wrote a book that sold over 1 million copies all over the world, how terrible slavery was. And when I read the book, two things that really struck me was there was a nasty plantation owner named Legree, I think that was the name. And he went off and he came back. And he said this to one of his slave ladies, that I brought you, I was good to you, I brought you something back. And of course, she bring me. I brought you a husband. She said, I already got a husband. He said, well, I just brought you another one. Well, they never had a what you call a formal or ceremony with a marriage license like when I was married. Either my wife is deceased now, but she never was married like that. They have what you call jumping the broom. They have witnesses there and everything. And they have a little celebration, and somebody, his members or so, performed a little ceremony, and they jumped the broom, and that was supposed to be the tying band together. So, and then another thing that struck me was something what Trump trying to do right now on this deportation, taking a lot of these people out of the country. But they came in here undocumented, and the American government, the good people, that they ought to do what it takes to make a person naturalized. But when they come in here across the border, crooks, the robbers and all that, and get all the money, taking jobs and all that from us, they need to get them out of here. Need to get those kind of people out of here. But what Trump was saying, he wants to take out the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, on the 14th Amendment. It was really the 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment was really established for black folk and people who just came out of slavery. 13th Amendment, no more slavery in America. Thank God for Lincoln for that, because he gave his life for it. They assassinated Booth and killed him for it. And the 14th Amendment was the due process clause. where it says states cannot do anything to another individual. It has to be everybody treated fair. And one part in there says, all persons, there's a Trump want to take out of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which he can never do. The only way you can amend the Constitution, you must have a Constitutional Convention, and you must get 3/4 of the 50 states. I think that's about 38 states, which you never get, to change the Constitution, amendment to the Constitution. This Constitution went over to 1789, only got about 25 amendments. So you say everybody cannot, jump at everything to do those amendments. But the fact of the matter is, that amendment for make black people a citizen of the country. All persons born and naturalized are therefore citizens of the states in which they reside. And Trump cannot change that. And then that was done for black folk, basically, slavery. Then the Fifth Amendment gave us the right to vote. And the sad thing about all these amendments is that at the end of each one of these amendments, the last line says, Congress should have the power to enforce this legislation. In all these many years, they never do nothing like that. We suffered. Gerrymandering, bringing in other parts of the state in the district so that they can dilute the black vote. This is not a democracy. Lincoln said himself that the people of the world would call us hypocrites. And that is exactly what America is, a hypocritic country. A hypocritic country. They're not going by what Jefferson said about the basic rights that God gave every man, the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We had no happiness. All we did was work 250 years for nothing. 250 years. They're not going to give us no reparations. But when the war was over in Japan and America, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and went into war, they all the Japanese in the country were put into concentration camps because they didn't know whether they were spies or saboteurs or what. But what happened? As soon as the war was over, they let the Japanese out of concentration camps. I call them concentration camps. That's what they were. They gave them money. They gave every one of the Japanese persons their property back, and they gave them some finance. We worked for 250 years. That's 2 centuries and a half. It's 100 years in a century. That's 2 centuries and a half. And then you have black folk vote for somebody like Trump. How many black folk he pointed in all the part? He did get one black man over houses. What about all the department jobs like Secretary of Defense, Secretary of this, Attorney General, all that? He didn't think about no black folk. We try to tell you that, and black folk vote for him. What he done for you? Other than trying to suffer you, got that man taking people off the jobs. You look at the TV, the federal judge say, put a pause on that. We put the end to that right now. And you're running to vote for him. What he did for you? Nothing. He's a big liar. So anyway, that's what went on. But you had wonderful white people cared about blacks' enslavement. And one, as I told you about Miss Shaw. Then there's a called the abolitionist movement. You take the abolitionist movement. First thing about it, you had what they call the Dred Scott case. I'll give you some history. We all just showing y'all where we're coming from, and we still have not gotten the full benefits of what this country is supposed to give us. Dred Scott was a man that was a slave. He was owned by a doctor who was in the military. So, as being in the military, I was in the military in Germany, but I didn't ever get enough staying there long enough to get shipped nowhere anyway. But anyway, the man was a doctor, and he was shipped to I think he was in Missouri, and he was shipped to, I was thinking it was Illinois. No, it wasn't. I can't think exactly where he was shipped to, but it was a free state. And when he was shipped there, he came back. People, he didn't have no money. The abolitionist people paying the money for the lawyers and all of that. And he argued the fact that since he had been of free territory, part of Missouri, he should be a free man. And after discussion on that, Judge Taney, T-A-N, Natalie, now I'm back now. It went off for temporarily. He said that since you are a slave, you're not a citizen of the state. You really don't have a right to even file a petition into this court because you're a slave. You're property. You're owned by somebody. That was very devastating to him. That was one of the things that hurt black people very bad. Then next we had what we call this election of 1877. 76, but it didn't come out to 77. And what happened there? Nobody had the total amount of electoral votes needed to be president. At that time, I think it was 164 electoral votes. That was because the country was just beginning, you see. The country was just beginning. Territories are just beginning to come into the state and to the union, from the states into the union. So you had a man named Tillman, and you also had, he was the governor of New York, and you had a man named Hayes. He was the governor of Ohio. And what you think happened? Nobody had a total amount of electoral votes necessary to be president. So the decision wound up going into the Supreme Court. So when it got to the court, they still didn't come to the decision. So what they decided to do what? The people in the North, the conservatives, the people, the Republicans, who had their mind on nothing but money, selling of cotton and change and all that type of business. So what they did with the Southern Democrats, they made a deal. And the deal was this. If you pull the troops out of the South, these cities in the South, we will give you the 3 electoral votes that you needed. 3 or 4 states had not completed their tally to turn in their reports. So they encouraged them to go along with the group that was going to give the election to the Republicans. And they finally given it to Mr. Hayes. And what he did, he pulled the troops out of the South. Just imagine that we had, the troops had stayed in the South for 100 years, 50 years, 20, 30 years. We would never have the problems that we got today. And the trouble that black folk had to endure all these many years and still enduring all these many years. I think when I think about the black man that was in the military fighting, came back. I believe I told you all this before, and just got out of the military. And I don't know if it was in South Carolina or Georgia. That's not the point. The point was this happened in 1947. Don't know whether the bus driver had his uniform, just got discharged out of the military. Don't know whether or not he said something he should not say to the bus driver. I asked him to let him run into the restroom or something. I just don't know. In my reading, I never heard what actually caused the conflict. But I do tell you this: he got angry with the soldier, went to use the telephone, and called some people and told him and them to meet him at the next stop. So we got a very so and so inward on this bus. And when the bus got to this destination, they dragged him off the bus and they beat him mercilessly took with sticks and they blind the man. And President Truman was very, very upset about that. I think that's one reason why he went in 1947 and integrated the army. Black men giving their lives to the country, fighting for somebody else to have freedom and come back to their own country and don't have no freedom. And the Constitution gave the Congress right to do that. You had Richard Russell and all those racist senators. Didn't even want to stop a lynching bill. Would you believe that? Didn't want to stop a lynching bill. All this coming into the fact that we fight for justice and we can get it. So that's one of the things that ruined black folk. And then you had the election of 1895. You had 1895. I know some people don't like for me to say this, but I have to say it. I tell the truth on this show. Whether you like me or not, I don't care. But I tell the truth. The truth will set you free. What Jesus said, I tell the truth. And my son said, "No, Daddy, you should be saying." I say, I tell the truth, Kenny. I have to tell what the truth is. And here's one thing, the truth. Booker T. Washington was a great man. Don't take that away from me. I'll tell the truth on that man. He started Tuskegee. He had good, but he ran all over the country saying that the white folk won't give us this, take time, just be patient, all that. Patient. Like Dr. King said on one of his statements, he said, this statement said right here. He said right here, and I'm going to read it to you. And I'm going to tell you what gets that wait. I'm going to tell you. Listen to what he says. Ultimately, the measure of a man or woman is not where he or she stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he or she stand in time of challenge and controversy. Take a stand. I've never been afraid, never been scared, and I'm 91 years old now. I'm too old now to be that now. I've been fighting for civil rights since I was 18 years old. I had an opportunity to meet Dr. King, met Thurgood Marshall. I met Miss Constance Motley, who was the lady that put I'm going to tell you all some of that time what happened in the 60s. Y'all don't know anything about it. That's why I try to tell y'all what some of the things black folk have gone through in this country. All that hell they raised and put that boy in Mississippi. I got other things to tell you the next month. I'm just talking about some of the stuff that, since this is Black History Month. And Booker T. Washington thought, oh, y'all, they're going to be nice to you. He want us to use our hands on everything. We have people can use this right here. So he and Dr. Du Bois always was in conflict in writings and speaking about the black man. And Booker T. Washington, I got to give it to him now. He conned all those J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Carnegie, all them rich billionaires. They put money into Tuskegee. That's why that school was such a great school. And he was going around here in 1895 saying that. And let me tell you what happened. In 1895, you heard a case come up. They had first. They had him to speak in Atlanta in 1895. They had him to speak at the convention. And I got a book where they show when he got to speaking, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just telling you the truth. That had nothing to do with how great the school is. I'm telling you what happened, what he did. He stood up there and took his hand, thousands of white folk, spread his finger like this. And these are what words he said. Don't take my word about it. Google it yourself. In all things social, we could be as separated as the fingers and work together as a hand on everything that's good for the cause of working together for peace and for a goodwill and good things, for good accomplishment. Now, when you say all things social, if that ain't calling for segregation, I like to know what it is. Somebody told me they heard, I ain't never read nothing. I read a lot of things with Dr. King. I ain't never read anything where Dr. King mentioned his name. Now, it could have been, I don't see everything, but I read 2 books, as I told you about him. And I read here, there, and yonder when I see things about him, like I did this and read this. But I have never saw anything in writing that Dr. King called his name. I haven't. I don't saw everything, but I have not. But what you think happened in 1896? In 1895, what happened? There was a man called the Plessy case, Plessy. That's what gave us the Plessy case, ladies and gentlemen, is what gave us this right here. 1954, Supreme Court rules equality. Rule equality. Rule equality. In 1995, a man by the name of Plessy, Plessy, got on the train, and the conductor told him, says, you got to move out of this part long before anything about Rosa Parks. So you got to move out of this coach and go to the back coach. Why I got to move? Why I got to move? I paid my fare. Why I got to move? So he was arrested. And of course, the abolitionist office was behind all this good, which was good. And when he was arrested, they filed a suit in the United States Supreme Court. And listen to me well, ladies, gentlemen. That was a thing. That decision of 1896 crippled a black man in this country for 80 years because it came out with a decision separate but equal. And I guarantee my life, if I could prove it, that those 9 judges, I think one judge was against it, those judges took in consideration Booker T. Washington's speech in 1895. I give my life that they did it, they discussed it. And they came out with separate but equal. And it's always been separate but equal. And Thurgood Marshall argued that case. I meant to show you that little girl picture, but I'll show it to you next time. Named the Brown case. Was a young lady named Linda Brown. I show a picture next month, and I show it on my wall, on my historic wall in my office. But her daddy filed a suit in Topeka, Kansas. Little girl, 8 years old, about 7 or 8 years old, had to walk almost a mile to a school, and the school was right in her neighborhood, where she lived in Topeka, Kansas, because God made her skin a different color. And NAACP fought that case. I'm gonna see this whole month. I'm gonna talk more next month about Black history. The month be gone, but every day is Black history. We need to take our children because they're taking the books away. Don't want the white children to even know about the accomplishments. And I'm gonna tell y'all next month, if I live, a lot of the accomplishment things that Black folk have made, invented, like a pencil sharpener, Black man. So that's what happened. The separate but equal doctrine went on for 80 years. And I remember a gentleman, he's a white gentleman, a friend of mine, and he was having one of his friends, who was a nice fellow, to run for office, the last office. And he said, he and I were talking about how unjust Black folk have been treated in this country from the slavery days on, and how they were mistreated. Just look at the back of this man. Look at that man's back. Look at it. Look how they beat that man. Look at his back. Just look. And like one lady said to slave, oh, my master told me he bought me so I could be a baby machine. 250 years of free labor. Sharecroppers didn't have a lot of education. They're working for nothing, supposed to share the profit with the man. They took advantage of Black folk. They buy stuff on credit, they pad the books. Never know what he's got through paying the bill. all of these terrible things. But we have been on the race that have been not able to read. And God bless us. Not able to read. Punished if you learn how to read. And when that decision came down in 80 years, that was the result of what I just showed you. When Thurgood Marshall argued the case before the United States Supreme Court from 1896 to 1954. And they did not want to integrate the schools. I'm going to tell you a lot about that next month. And I'm also tell you a lot of the things and that I'd like to have children to write down something. If you got grandchildren, have them write down some of the things. And that's another thing we got to do. We got to raise our children right. Black folk have gotten away from sending their children to Sunday school to learn about Jesus. Only thing to think about is Christmas, but towards after that, that's it. But I helped them bring a lot of changes, not only millions. People we'll never know about give their lives and their time and their effort. And these drugs came into this country and it just tore up everything. Even my own two boys got hooked up in that mess. But the training that I gave them years and years ago, the company you keep, you get away from it. Now I'm proud of them changing life. The word of God says, bring up a child the way you have it go. And we'll get old and we'll not depart from it. I'm no minister, but I do read the word of God and I know it. But every day, every Sunday, my mama had 4 of us ready and we went to Sunday school. Now, all the churches in Savannah basically don't have no Sunday school. Parents become sorry, lazy. And with the situation keep going on, our black girls, they don't have nobody to marry. 80-something% of the black men are incarcerated. And 90% of the incarceration or more is drugs. Get a job and work. And the white man has responsibility to pay you for your labor. They're just. You got us tired of making you let some in and make so much money. Working for nothing. It's terrible. $15 an hour, that ain't no money. Well, they know $15 an hour, that's no money. But I mean, some people make more than that, don't misunderstand it, but nobody can hire you less than $50 an hour. How that any money? 50 cents an hour. That's the standard from the law. They try to get $15 an hour, and the Congress, they don't want to do that. Pay you $15 an hour. That's a shame. And you got to pay the same thing for a gallon of milk as the white man who's a billionaire. Same must. You got to pay the same thing he paid. You don't get no break because you don't have a lot of money. If the milk is $5, that's for everybody. The economic standard is terrible in this country. People are living on starvation monies. Starvation. In the richest country in the world. Got veterans sleeping under the bridge. People sleeping in the streets. The richest country in the world. And you got a man want to give billionaires. Gave them already last time he was president a $2 trillion check. $2 trillion tax break. That means that's $2 trillion would have been in the treasury. Now he gonna give it to them again because he gave them billions of dollars in the. And yet he want to cut off the aid to Africa with the poor children and the toddlers and the babies. What a world. And God is not pleased either. He's not pleased. I don't know too many people be speaking like I be speaking, but I wish they would be more to our people. I don't think the ministers do it. They don't do it. They don't talk about black history to people. It's where we come. God led us out of bondage like Moses brought the children out of Egypt. But God got to discuss it with them, though. And you get to discuss it with the black people. Hook on drugs, killing one another. That's not the way to be. We are pride people. We picked ourselves up from slavery. We couldn't even read. And look at the day. We got teachers, we got doctors, we got engineers, we got everything. When they come easy, it come with sacrifice. People lost their lives. That lady, that white woman came from Detroit to help Dr. King in Selma, Alabama. And I was so proud of the young man. I've been working with NAACP since I was 17 years old. I've always been wanting to be an outstanding leader in my community. Fight for justice. We brought the street bad during the boycott. I'm going to tell you about that sometime. Put me in police car to take me to jail because I had a camera brought back from Germany threatening the people going into the stores. They're trying to get jobs for our young ladies. Things have changed. The only time you see all the time these young women, they're working, any work is decent, no much understand what I'm saying. But they could do better if they got that opportunity. You always saw them pushing white babies. That's all. You don't see that no more because opportunities have come to black people. But it didn't come cheap. It come with the shedding of blood, dying. Look at the little girls blown up in the church. 4 little girls in Alabama getting ready for Sunday school. Or after Sunday school, get ready for church. And a guy called named Dynamite Bob that night went to put a bomb 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. And about 10 that morning, that something 11 church blew up, killed 4 little beautiful little girls. I got that picture in the paper somewhere, and I hope I show it the next time. I hope I can find it. I got so much memorabilia, so I don't know. I told my son, what are you going to do with all my stuff? I got a black wall with all history in my office. Our people need to know about our history. They need to know. And we need to tighten up our children. Because the word of God said, if you don't bring up your child supposed to go, he'll make you cry. Read the book of Proverbs. He'll tell you that. That's where we've fallen short, ladies and gentlemen, as a black race. We've fallen short. We've fallen short. We got to pick ourselves up. We got to raise a generation of men that will respect women. All these rapping guys. I like some nice rap music. I ain't from no square. I used to be one of the best cha-cha jokers in the world. I like music, all type of music I like. Country western, classical. We don't have nothing like that no more. When I came up, you used to have classical programs on the television, the Bell Telephone Hour, the Firestone Hour. Don't have nothing like that now. Our children don't know nothing about anything culture. All they know is rap, bap, 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 bap. That's all they know. But we as a people, we got to start doing better in 2025. You can see right now the suffering that this man and the government is trying to remake the whole government towards a tyranny government. That's what they're doing. But we came up the hard way, suffering, sacrifices. That's what we do as a black people. But we got to pass it on to other generations. I only got about 5 minutes more to go, but I want to say this, that I do love my people. And I'm honored that I met 3 of the most important people in the world God ever made. Thurgood Marshall, Dr. Martin Luther King. I sat right next to him, shook his hand, talked with him. And the lady named was Constance Motley. The judge came to argue the case against Fred Wessels Home. 2 black women were suing. And the old federal judge, he was a segregationist. He ruled against her. But she the one put James Merritt in the University of Mississippi, which I'll tell y'all one time. The next time we'll talk about that. Trying to tell y'all some of the things that they're not going to show and tell you because they're trying to kill all the books. They don't want us to read. They don't want you to read at all. They are keeping you from reading. Take the books. I don't want black children to learn nothing about our race. I don't want the white children to learn neither about the accomplishment. I remember looking at TV one day, 2 white girls, when they had the black water fountain, white folks. When I go there right now, I say, this is ridiculous. White fountain, black fountain, all the water coming through the same pipe. 2 white girls drank the water, so one said to the other one, oh, you drank out of the water. She said, well, all of it tastes the same to me. I didn't see no difference. It was ignorance. That's what it was. ignorance. And we got a long way to go as a bunch of people. We are. We have a lot of great people in our race to be proud of. But we got to keep the generation coming that way. We got to change our paradigm. We got to instill into our young men to be men and our ladies to be women. That's what we got to do. And educate ourselves. Get a job. We got to work. The Bible says a man don't work, he should not eat. So it's up to us to produce a better generation of young men and women. And when accomplishment that we make as grown folk that we have done in the past and what we'll be doing in the future, our unborn generations will be the beneficiary of all the good that we do. And let us keep our hands in God's hand. And let's not make God angry because he brought us out a long ways. 250 years of working for nothing. Think about that. And yet still, in this modern time, 21st century, they still want you to work for nothing. $15 an hour they can't give you. Terrible. Utilities are going up. Mortgages are going up. But not wages. And the rich people are getting richer and richer. And I'm going to end with this, like what Mr. Farrakhan says. I'll always respect him because he's not afraid to speak out. He said this: we're not angry with the young white men who have inherited all this money from generations of labor from slavery and all of that. That's a lot of these people got money, all these big corporations, money that was passed down to them, that they inherited from labor, free. He said, but what makes me angry is the fact that you all don't share what you got. But no, they make it even worse. They can't even give you $20 an hour. And some people work very hard, but all these children take care of. So let us pray. Okay, on my closing statement, I'd like to say this, that we all must keep struggling for equality, for justice, and to make this nation a better nation. We're at the crossroads now, really at the crossroads, whether we will have a democracy or where we have a man that wants to have a dictatorship to form a government. Now, next year, I think, is the election of the House of Representatives. And we really got to get out and get those Republicans out of there where we can get the Democrats in to give us the programs that all of us deserve. So in conclusion, I want to thank you for listening to the program, and I hope that I've been able to share some things that you did not know that we should pass on to our children about our history. So God bless you. I'll see you next month, and I will have some things that they have your young people ready to write some of the things that I'm going to tell you that you use in your home and all that black folk invented. So God bless you, and have a nice night. Thank you very much for listening to my program.
Like that.